Hello, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen. If there is a gentleman that is looking at the show today, but we do come live on the Diamond Beauties Forever group, and then we also go out on E360 TV on all their platforms as well as the women's platform. So I'm truly excited to have my next beautiful lady here in Soul of a Diamond. It's already episode 17, and it's my honor to introduce beautiful Cindy to you. My beautiful Cindy, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in 1 minute. I just want to say how you inspired me. But before I do that, my beautiful diamond beauties, if you do give us love comments, remember this is Cindy's show. I will not do a shout out to say your name and what you have said, but I will bring on the screen your message for Cindy, and then we will be able to see it, but no shout out. So, my beautiful Cindy, I just want to say the first time I met you, you blown me away. You are amazing. You are so inspirational. I actually have goosebumps. And the one thing that when we talked, you said, Sanette, how can I serve the beautiful diamond beauties? And I said, if you can start posting, my beautiful one, you've got a message. And there's a lot of people going through this, the divorce or separation. And there's a lot of people that wants to start dating, but there's a lot of things connected to this whole thing. And if you can start posting, my girl, you have started to post almost every day. And now I am also truly honored that you are one of our Mrs. Spots. So, my beautiful viewers, if you don't know what Mrs. Spots is, in the Diamond Beauties Forever group, we are almost 700 ladies and we are in 42 countries. We've got 7 Mrs. Spots, and Mrs. Spots is from Beauty and the Beast. And she will have a safe space. She will have a safe space to give to the people, to any lady that's in the group that can join, and then she will be there. They're able to talk and just be seen and be heard. And my beautiful Cindy, you can tell us in 1 minute what is your beautiful name of your show, and it's on a Friday. So it's our tea parties, our tea parties. So my beautiful Cindy, thank you for being you and thank you for serving the world. May I please ask you, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, but first, let me just say thank you so much, Sanat. And I feel the same way. Just a great energy. You bring so much love to the world, and I'm honored to be here today. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cindy Edington, and I'm from Fairport, New York, in the USA. I'm the owner of Tranquil Heart Wellness, and I'm a certified transformational life coach. I'm also a yoga therapist, Reiki master teacher, and an EFT practitioner. And my specialize in helping women navigate the aftermath of divorce. I really want to help them rise from the challenges with a newfound strength because having experienced a really heartbreaking divorce myself, I truly understand the struggles with self blame. There's a lot of financial worries. For me, it was being a single mom. So if you're a single parent, and then just the anxieties with getting back out into the dating pool. And so my mission is to really assist as many women as I possibly can to find their inner grounding, really reignite their passion for life, embrace their personal power and renew their hearts to really learn how to love themselves fully and to start living their best life like right now.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So I do see a beautiful Christa have joined us. She will come next week. So next week we're gonna have a reflection where Christa, Alexandra, Hermin, and let me just quickly look there. Gabrielle, she's gonna do a video for us because she has a client, and you are coming to tell us how it was to be on the Soul of a Diamond. I just need to let everybody know we don't have power at the moment, so we are on battery, and I do see I have instability. So am going to play your video in a little bit later. So may I ask you, if I do go off, Cindy, if you can just continue, I will definitely come back. Yeah. Please, my beautiful Cindy, can you start anywhere and tell us your story?
Okay, so no worries. So let me just preface this by letting folks know that my story comes from a healed place, right? I no longer carry any hurt or anger or feel wounded by some of the events that happened, and I'm not here to blame or shame anyone. So I just want to start with that, because I'm just simply sharing, situations as I perceive them and how they affected me. And really, the most important thing is how I grew from them. And so I like to look at my journey as one of, I go to Maslow's hierarchy. So I look at it as a past of living in survival to a present of maybe self-actualization at this point, but then a really hopeful future of transcendence, because I really like to continue to grow always. So where to start? Let's start at the beginning. I figure I'll give you a little bit of background of just where I came from, where I come from. So I actually grew up in the outer suburbs of Buffalo, New York. And I really come from very, very humble beginnings. I'm the eldest of three children. So I have two younger brothers. And, I came from a family where my father was in law enforcement. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And she stayed at home until I was about 13, and then she went back to work. But my parents had that, I would say, the typical 50s style marriage. That's their era. So my father was like the head of the house. He was the breadwinner. But it's whatever he said was kind of like the law in the house, right? It was like whatever he said, that's the way it was going to be. So there was always, and because of his position of being in law enforcement, there was always this pressure on all of us. We had to do the right thing, right? There was a lot of image, we had to really make sure that his image wasn't tarnished in any way. And there was always a lot of pressure too to do the right thing and learn things quickly, right? Because he was really only his patience was, I would say, a little bit low back in the day. And so it was like he was going to show you something, it was going to be once. So you better get it right away. Don't make any mistakes. It was really kind of be perfect and live up to his standards. And you just never really wanted to reflect poorly, I would say, on him. And so to stay, I would have to say, again, this is, me now as an adult thinking back, to stay in his good favor, I really became like the harmonizer in the family. I was like the Suzi Sunshine. I became the people pleaser. And, so I that'll come into later into the story, but just to kind of give you a background as to kind of like what my role was in the family. And then my mom was the nurturer, right? She took care of everything. She ran the household, did everything for all of us kids. And like I said, humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot of money, right? And there was actually a lot of negative messaging around people who had money. And so these things I say so that it sets the stage of some of the messaging that I carried with me then into my adulthood. The other part of childhood is we moved around a lot, and I was very small, very short, very tiny. And so moving into, a new school, I was always the kid that was kind of picked on. I was bullied a lot. So I always felt like I had to change who I was to fit in. And so I literally feel like I became the chameleon. Like I could change my colors to fit into any crowd that I was with. And so again, I just wanted to set that stage of kind of where I came from and maybe some of the messaging. So it gives you some perspective of where I kind of go from there. And so from there, again, I was the first one in my family to go to college. And it's interesting because my mom was the one that was the big encourager. She was like, and I won't forget this, because she said to me, you need to have an education so you can take care of yourself and not depend on a man. And I mean, those were really insightful words, but at the time, I didn't even realize how prophetic they were going to be. I had no idea. And, my father, again, being one of these, 50 styles guy, his thinking was, I'm just going to get married. My husband's going to take care of me, and why was I even worried about, going to school? But I'm glad I did. It was something that really, I think, pulled me forward. And as we get later into the story, it saved me, right, in terms of finances. But some of the other messaging that came through, early messaging, back then was, I really actually wanted to go to school to. There was a show back then called Quincy, and some of you may not know about it, but in America, it was a very popular show, and it was about a guy who basically um, would he was a medical examiner, and he would basically investigate why a person had died, and it was kind of one of those early criminal, investigative kind of things, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so I really wanted to go to school for that. But again, because we came from humble beginnings, there was a lot of messaging to say, no, what, there was 20 different ways that wasn't going to work for me. There was always 20 different ways, no matter what idea I came up with, and why it wasn't going to work, or how it would possibly fail, or it was going to cost way too much money. And so, I just learned very early on from my family, that, if I was going to basically be a success, was to do what my parents told me to do. And so, and again, when you're young, you don't question any of that. I didn't realize that this was all these messages were being downloaded into me, and I was developing certain beliefs from that. I was just going based on what they told me to do. Now, let's go forward a little bit, because to me, all of this, what I have learned in my adult life, is that all of these early messages, really turn into like what we believe. Like, we don't question it as children, but in our adult life, situations come up, and then we might realize that they're actually maybe beliefs that are limiting us. Now, let me say, there's some really positive things that came out of my early messaging, and some of them are, because I'm a chameleon, I could always get along really well with others. I literally was able to establish rapport and build relationships with people right away. I was very flexible. I could adapt to new situations very quickly. And I have to say, I think some of those are some of my greatest assets. Um, these are the qualities that, really took me forward when I was working in different organizations. I mean, I was actually able to talk with people at all levels within an organization, whether they were the CEO or somebody that was in the janitorial area. I mean, it didn't matter to me. I don't care. I'm just coming from my heart, and I love you no matter what. And so it really helped me, I think, to grow and expand. And I feel so, so fortunate for all of that. And so a little bit about, my history before I became this coach and all of my passion work. I spent 35 years actually working in research and development. I worked in the areas of like infectious disease and ophthalmology, oncology and neurology. And I think, again, because of my ability to be this chameleon, I was really able to shift into so many different roles. I mean, I was so fortunate. I got to wear, with, like you, Sinet, so many different hats. I was actually able to wear so many different hats through my career in science. I started off as a bench scientist doing experiments on the bench, and then I worked in clinical research operations, project management, account management. I worked in business development, consulting. So I really feel so fortunate that, again, this early messaging really served me well in so many ways. The interesting thing, though, is even though, I felt like I was a success in my professional life, there really came a point in time where some of the negative aspects of that early messaging really came to the forefront. And, these started to reveal themselves, after this heart opening event, when I started to actually really grow and develop in my own personal discovery journey. I started to notice how often I gave away my personal power because I was the people pleaser, and so, I just was always giving, 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 and especially to men who were in positions of power. Because again, father figure, I would just give away all my personal power and make sure that they were uplifted. They were the ones that were seen, as, powerful. And I kind of like stayed in the background. And it really affected me even when I started my business, because it really kept me playing small. And I've learned so much being a business owner, again, just continuing to grow, like how to take more bolder steps. And this today is a big, bold step. I've not told my story like this before. So this is huge. Um, this is, me opening up and being actually very vulnerable to like open up and say these things. So bear with me today as I move through this. But as I mentioned, who I am today and who I'm still becoming, because I think we all are still becoming, started with, to me, a heart opening event. I mean, I mentioned it was heartbreaking going through my divorce, right? Because it blindsided me. I had no idea that it was going to happen. It really left me feeling so broken and scared and unworthy and not good enough. And I was really alone with I mean, I had a baby. I had a baby at the time, very little support. But again, with it came like really great gifts of discovering who I am, what my purpose is, so many lessons. So let me just talk. I'm going to talk and share a little bit now about how the divorce kind of happened. Because my ex and I were together like close to 9 years. I mean, we dated for a long time, then we moved in together, then we bought a house, we did all of these things, then we got married. And he was a little bit older than me. And as we were moving through our relationship, he was starting to get a little bit worried about maybe getting too old to start a family. So we made this decision. All right, let's start. Let's see if we can get pregnant. And it took a while for me to get pregnant. I'm going to say probably almost a year. And here's the real heartbreaking thing. The weekend that I found out I was pregnant was the same weekend my ex told me he didn't want to be married anymore, with really no explanation at the time, just simply to say it wasn't me. So he told me he didn't want to be married anymore. I went home and I didn't know I was pregnant. I went home to tell my parents what was going on. And again, I'm not trying to blast my dad here because I love my dad dearly, but the first thing he said to me was, "What did you do?" And I was like, whoa. I was completely taken back by this. And I thought, oh my gosh, how is this my fault? And then, of course, I found out that weekend, I had been sick on and off for like, I don't know, 4 months. I thought I had some kind of flu. And my mom took one look at me and she's like, "We're going to the drugstore." And I'm like, "Well, what?" She goes, "I think you're pregnant." And of course, we got home, I peed on the stick and voila, here I am. And I literally crumbled in the corner and started to cry because I was like, oh my gosh, how do I even tell, my husband at the time, how do I even tell him now that I am pregnant with our child? And so, I went home. I wasn't going to tell him, but he was already packing up all his stuff. He was packing up all his stuff, getting ready to move out. And I asked him, I said, "So I just want to know if you're going to take responsibility and accountability, for certain things." He was like, "Well, of course I am, and taking care of what he needed to take care of." And I said, "I just want you to know that I'm pregnant." And I mean, he was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, I didn't even want him to like come near me at this point. And so he left, and I basically just started to move forward as best that I possibly could. He came back, again, when I was about 8 months pregnant. We tried to make it work. The unfortunate thing is that 3 months after our daughter was born, the same kind of pattern started happening again. And I realized, I mean, this is when I found out that actually he'd been seeing somebody. And so all of this was the explanation as to why, he no longer wanted to be married. But what the interesting thing in this, and again, I didn't see this at the time, it took a while, is that, I, on a subconscious level, had this limiting belief then. It started coming to the surface to say, you're not lovable unless you're perfect. Because I really questioned my worth. My negative self-talk real kept saying, I should have. Like, I should have been a better wife. I should have been prettier. I should have been smarter. I should have been stronger. I should have done all these things maybe differently. And literally on a very subconscious level, it was like, you're not lovable unless you're perfect. And, it took such a long time for me for that to kind of surface, but then it kind of came back to then a lot of the early messaging, right? It all kind of fit, that I needed to be a certain way, right, to be loved or to be accepted into different groups. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting when you can kind of start to go back and see the early programming. And this is not anything that was like 2 snaps, I got it right away. This is years of exploration. Um, and at that time, so I'll reel back now. At that time, my ex left me with a ton of debt, so it was like he quit his job. I'm like, oh my gosh, and now I'm trying to support the whole household and take care of a small child at the same time. And I remember times when I literally had $10, which at that time was not a lot, to get for the whole week. This is after I paid all of the bills and took care of all of my daughter's needs. And that was literally to feed myself, And at that time, I like literally lived on, I had these little bags of mini baby carrots and apples and yogurt. And there was, again, a big movie that was very famous, the Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind. And I'll never forget, I sat crying in the middle of my living room one night, and I raised my fist up saying, there's going to be a day I will never go hungry again. I was like, just things like that where you're like, stick in my mind, because it was just really, really difficult. And you would think I would go back to my parents and ask for help, but I was like, I was too proud. I mean, I was like, talk about armoring up. I was like, I am not going to confirm any suspicions that, I'm not strong enough to make it on my own. Because I really, again, was taught vulnerability was weak, and I did not want to be seen as weak at that point. So fast forward here, in terms of the story, I had little resources, but here's the thing. Here's the gift that came out of that. I had to learn how to get really resourceful, really resourceful. And so I had to think, okay, what can I do here? Because I needed more money. Bottom line, I needed to get more money. So I was a person that always liked to work out and exercise. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Because I couldn't afford the gym membership anymore. So I was like, I'm going to go and become a certified fitness instructor. It's going to be a win-win-win because it would give me a free membership and I could teach classes and they're going to pay me for that. Right. And it's going to give me a way to kind of like release some of the stress because everything felt so heavy. I'm now working full time. I'm a single mom. And it just felt so heavy. So to me, this was a way to like find the win-win-win. Back in those days, my whole philosophy was, okay, life's going to throw me a lemon. How am I going to turn it into lemonade? So it's like, I'm going to be able to turn it around. And so it was great. It was a way to make some extra money. Now, okay, so it was at the gym though that I met my now current husband. He actually was my aerobics instructor. We actually met while I was pregnant with my daughter because he was the low impact instructor because I was like high power, go, go, go all the time. And he was like, no, you got to slow it down. Your heart rate needs to be really slow. And when he found out that I was getting divorced, he just started coming up to me after every class and like talking to me. And my friends kept saying, oh my God, he's so into you, Cindy. And I'm like, no. I'm like, and again, negative self-talk real. I'm like, who wants to date somebody with a baby? Right. And really at that time, I really just didn't even want to be involved with another man. I had no trust for men at that time. And I didn't need anybody. Right? I didn't need anybody. I had my daughter, and this is the person that I gave all of my love to. I was like, I didn't need any other love in my life. This was what I needed, and I didn't need and want, I should say, both of those things. I got to tell you now, my husband now, he was so persistent in his efforts. Oh my gosh, he would not quit. Didn't matter how many times I pushed him away. So we started out with actually a group date. And when he heard my whole situation, kind of like through the grapevine, and we talked a little bit, he was so sensitive to my situation. And he really gave me the space I need, and he held space for me. He actually was the first person, aside from a couple of girlfriends, to truly hold space for me. And that meant so much to me, so much to me. And then, when I felt, and we were together quite a bit, and got to a point where I felt, wow, I'm really feeling I could get serious with this guy. And so I wanted to introduce him to my parents. And so um, that event didn't go so well. My father didn't really approve of him. And, rather than go into my usual mode of like, make my father happy, I said inside myself, no, I'm a grown ass woman right now. You know what I mean? More recognitions were happening. Sorry to swear here. But, I'm a grown woman. And I just started realizing that I don't need to make him happy. I need to make myself happy. And so it was the first time I think that I ever set a really strong boundary with my dad. And I didn't feel guilty about it. And that was the big thing for me, is because I wasn't used to setting boundaries, because then I would always like, oh, I would go into this should shame guilt cycle, right? Ooh, I shouldn't have done that. Then I would shame myself, then I would feel guilty about it, and I would stay stuck in this little circle of my reel all the time. I was like, but this to me was kind of, again, the beginning of discovering yet another part of my person, who I wanted to be, and to take back my personal power. And I gotta say, it felt great. I mean, it just felt so great. So again, big, huge lesson. These are the gifts that come out of, the heartbreaking events, and as time goes by. And so, fast forwarding again with my now husband, we, and it took years. This took years. I mean, this isn't things that took like overnight. This took years of building more trust. And it got to the point where I moved in with my husband. We started to build a life together, but I still struggled. My armor, I had so much armor of being really hurt from my ex, that I mean, it was just such a heavy suit of armor. It just felt like no one can pierce this. And again, not even realizing it, I was just so afraid of what happened with my ex happening again, because I was with my ex 9 years. So I was like, and now I've got this child. It's just so afraid. So I always, even though we were together and we were close, I still felt like I had him at arm's length, right? I wouldn't let my full guard down, because I was always wondering, when's the other shoe going to fall? And so I think for me, I just remained in that survival mode, right? And as I've grown, and these are the things that more awakenings, even I'd say in the past 5 years, just really recognizing how much programming affects us. And I realized that staying in that survival mode and not allowing my full vulnerability to come to the surface costed me so much, because I wanted to have this. Who doesn't want to have an intimate relationship with their significant other? That's what I really wanted. And, I think my husband was sensitive to that too, but he was patient, but it costed me, because I literally wasn't letting him in. And I have to say this honestly, I don't know how he actually stayed in it with me, because I literally felt on so many levels that I was pushing him away. And it took me so long. I mean, 15 years, I think it was actually, I think 15 years we were together. That, and, I thought we were going to break up, because again, it was me being, pushing away. I thought we were going to break up, but then we decided to go to couples counseling, and and that's where we really learned. And I learned how to speak more of my truth, and even let him even in more. And we learned how to talk with one another, not just at one another. We learned how to kind of like dance in communication. And that was so beautiful. And that's when I was really ready to fully commit. And I'd have to say, after our first year in therapy, I'm the one that then ended up proposing to him because he had proposed to me in the past. And the first I said yes, and then I backed away and said no because I was too scared. And that's a story for another day, but there's a whole story of how I proposed to him that I won't share now. But yeah, I ended up proposing to him. Um, and it's interesting because I think, again, more of the things that I've learned, just so many aha moments that for me, survival mode, one of the things I've learned most recently is that's more of being in your masculine energy, right? You've got to bring all of your, you know, push through. I shut down. I'm not going to feel things. And that's, I was such a master tucker. I would just like, oh, I can't feel that now. Tuck all my feelings. I would compartmentalize everything. And I really feel that, that whole experience and just learning more is allowing me even now to this day to come more into my feminine energy and to really trust him more, but really trust myself more. And so, you know, how did I get to this place? Let me backtrack then a little bit more here. The big opener for me in self discovery was yoga. I was this fitness instructor and, it's go, 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 high powered, ba, 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 power through. Everything was power through. And I had a colleague of mine introduced me to yoga, and I went to this Kundalini class, and it wasn't, I'm used to this high powered, let's work out kind of thing. And we just sat there and we breathed. We did a lot of breathing exercises and we chanted and we sang a song. And at the end of the class, we ate an apple. And I thought, we didn't really do anything. It wasn't a workout. But I walked out of that class and something came over me. And it was like I was walking on air. And I was like, I can feel it now, my whole being like lifted up. And I realized, and it was like, oh my gosh, I need more of this. I need more of this. And the big aha moment was, oh my gosh. It was the first time that I realized I needed to come inside because all of my validation, I was seeking all of my validation from external sources.
Oh,
Everybody else, I mean, that's the only way that I would feel validated, that I would feel whole, that I would feel successful, is that somebody else had to validate me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so this took me on this really deep inner journey, right? And as my yoga practice deepened, that's when my evolution, personal evolution and connection to source, universe, God, whatever word, spirit that you like to use, that's where I felt my true connection began. And I felt so empowered and passionate to continue to grow because I was just having so many light bulb moments. And so that took me in this journey. I was like, okay, I need more of this. So then then I got certified to be a teacher. And then I was teaching. And then I would say about 12 years ago, I shifted because 25 years ago, I've been teaching for over 25 years. 25 years ago, yoga was still this woo-woo thing. Not too many people were doing it. It was like, what is that? It was all these kind of like cringy, faces I would get for it. But because I was actually a fitness instructor still, I started to bring yoga into the gym. And so I was actually, I think, one of the first people in our city to actually bring it into that kind of scenario and open it up to many more people. And of course, fast forward, yoga now, there's a studio in every corner, and it became more of like, again, just this physical fitness thing. But for me, yoga was so much more than that. And so about 12 years ago, yoga therapy popped up, and I was like, oh, I want to get into that because it was really, again, yoga's overall wellness, right? It's looking at a person as a whole. It's not just asana or the movement piece of it. It's everything. It's how do you connect to source, meditation, breathing, all of these beautiful things. And so I got certified then as a yoga therapist. This is where I had another major, major breakthrough moment. There was a gentleman that came in, and he was one of our instructors, and he did yoga for grief relief. This is his thing. And I can't even remember exactly what he did, but we were doing these poses with guttural breathing, and we got done, and I literally fell on the floor. I collapsed in a ball, and I was bawling uncontrollably, and I didn't even know why. But I felt oh my gosh, it was all this armor. It's like he like literally like a needle pierced right through into my heart, and he opened it up, and I was like, what just happened? Talk about what a way to clear the room. Everybody else like, oh my God, what's going on here? You know? And he just sat next to me and held me and gave me the space. And I just knew that he was another person that I needed to be aligned with. And so he was a somatic therapist as well. And so I went into therapy with him for probably a good 3-4 years. And that's again when I learned that I was this master of tucking, because I had so much grief that I had not let out. I mean, I took so many of those feelings of that heartbreaking, you know, event. I didn't allow myself to feel it. Because again, who wants to be this crying mess in a corner when you've got a little baby to like take care of? I just, I bucked up. And so I tucked. And I didn't realize just how much needed to come out. And so his big message to me was, Cindy, you're healing. You have to sit in the sadness. You've got to feel your feelings. And he was the first one to tell me that your feelings are valid. Like your feelings are valid. Because before it was like, again, early messaging, it's like, what are you crying about? I mean, there's no need for crying about this. It's those are the kinds of messages that, again, you don't realize. And I'm not here to blame and shame, but it's this generational messaging. Let me put it this way. This is not just coming from my parents. This is generational messaging that comes down. It's cultural, it's societal, it's organizational, it's institutional, it's all of these things, right? And so I just had no idea how much I had held inside. And so, again, I was taught, don't cry and don't be angry. I mean, again, little girls are supposed to be everything nice, like sugar and spice. We're not supposed to be angry. And so, he gave me the space to really unpack a whole bunch of stuff and learn to sit in sadness. And so that to me was just, again, mind blowing. Again, all of these things to me, it's one thing cascaded into the other. But I think the big thing is just me being open to just, and I didn't even realize how much I was listening to my intuition. Like this is what felt good inside, and I needed to go to that. And, source, God, spirit, again, was, I think, guiding me to say, this is what you need to do next. And so again, the next big thing, again, more to this, is that, the day job that I absolutely needed to have to survive, was going away. They were taking all of our jobs away and moving them to a different part of the state. And of course, I didn't want to move. I could have moved, but I really didn't want to move, because here's the thing. Even though my ex and I had split, I did not want my daughter to suffer from not having a father in her life. And so I had forgiveness. We talked about forgiveness, in another scenario with all of us. And, I was able to forgive very easily with him because I chose to. I chose to, for my daughter's sake, because I wanted her to have him in her life. To me, that was really important, to have him in her life. And so it was interesting because as I'm losing this job, another great event happening. My friends kept saying, Cindy, you need to like go to school to be a coach. Because all of this yoga that I was doing, people always were gravitating towards me because they felt that I was grounded, and I gave them space. I gave them a safe space, right, to come and talk about whatever was going on. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check out this coaching thing. And so I got into a coaching program, and I just, I kind of knew, I really knew that coaching was really my true passion. And after I graduated, I started, a coaching practice, but it was still a side hustle, right? It was just one more thing that I was adding on to make more money. I desperately wanted to be a coach, but, scarcity mindset. Again, big, huge, limiting belief was getting in my way, because I felt it would be really selfish and irresponsible of me. And And I really felt on some level, again, negative reel coming in, talking, I wasn't going to be a good mom if I did that. Because, where's the safety net? And even though at that time we're actually living with, my current husband, I just didn't trust the financial picture. And we weren't married at that time, right? So I just felt I can't take the risk. So I just continued on with the full-time day jobs. And, I moved on. I had probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 more jobs. At the same time, I'm still continuing my education in health and wellness arena. I did restorative. You got certified for restorative. I did chakra training. I started my Reiki journey. I mean, all of these things started to come to the fold. And so, I mean, it's just really interesting how, Source, I think, guides you into what you need to do next. And I mean, there's so much more that I could go on to, but, the big thing I think for me is that um, turning 60 was another turning point. And I think for me, that's when I finally felt safe that I could dump the day job and jump into my passion work full time. So this was in 2019. You know, right? 2019, my daughter's on her own. She's married. I feel good. I feel like I've put enough money aside. And here's the thing, my husband, I can't say enough good things about my husband. He is the most wonderful man on the planet. I love him. Oh, I'll start to cry so much because he agreed. I mean, he's older than me and he could have retired. And he said, nope, I want you to feel safe. So I want you to go and do what you've put off doing for years and do your business. Go do B. I'm going to work. I'm going to continue working full time until you turn 65, which is this year. Which is this year. I'll turn 65 this year. And so, it just gave me that space again to feel safe. And so, I feel really good about it. It's taken me, so here's the thing, it's taken me 25 years, right, to get to this point and lots of reassurance, if you will, from my husband. And I started the full-time business. I thought it was actually going to be yoga therapy, but COVID hit and then I pivoted all into coaching. And I buffed those skills and I learned so much more even with that. I got introduced to the emotional freedom technique, to me, game changer. And I use it so much to break through a lot of the old programming and get really grounded. And, it gave me another tool to learn how to release a lot of that old conditioning and old programming. And it just gave me the opportunity and space being in my own solopreneurship here, how grateful I am and how much gratitude and forgiveness and having compassion have been really cornerstones of everything going forward and everything in my past. It's just all of those things that come to the forefront that make me feel um, so incredibly thankful for my life's journey and thankful for, again, this heart. Again, I call it a heart opening event because to me, that was the first event, the first heart piercing, if you will, to open up into all this other beautiful, beautiful stuff. And so I feel so great. At this point, my life is wonderful. I have this growing relationship with my husband. We still are growing more and more in love all the time, which I don't know how many people can say that. I feel so fortunate for that. I have a beautiful daughter. My son-in-law is the most beautiful man on the planet. I have 2 gorgeous, gorgeous grandchildren. And through all of this, and I'm still learning this, but I still continue to practice loving myself because for the longest time I didn't, and I recognize that now. And I think each step brings me, and this being open today and being really vulnerable today brings me more closer to just being my authentic self. Because for years, I really felt fifth chakra, for those who know what that is, I didn't feel I could speak my truth. I don't even think I even knew what my truth was. And so I just really feel that this is where I'm at. I love what I'm doing right now. I love sharing with other women If I can share this story, and if there's one tiny thing that somebody can take away to say, hey, I resonate with that, I've been there too, then it's all worth it. And I just really look forward to whatever comes next, and being a part of this community, Sanette, that you've invited me into. I feel like it's home. I really do. I feel like all these beautiful women that are around us have so much to give. And I just say now, thank you for letting me just share who I am, a little bit more of who I am today.
Wow. Thank you, my beautiful Cindy. First of all, you are going to let me cry. I never knew you are 60, almost 65. You are beautiful, my girl. And then secondly, I want to say thank you for telling your story, because it takes courage to do that. And my girl, I am going to be an amazing publisher, soul diver publisher, and I'm going to publish your book. While you were talking, we need to publish your whole book with all the things. So, my beautiful Sydney, are you ready for me to play your video?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Cindy Edington from Fairport, New York, in the USA. I'm a transformational life coach and holistic healer, and my specialty is helping women navigate the aftermath of divorce. Because having gone through a heartbreaking divorce myself, I understand the struggles with self-blame, financial worries, being a single parent, and getting back into the dating scene. And so my mission is to help as many women as I possibly can rise through these challenges with newfound strength, to reignite their passion for life, re-engage their personal power, and renew their hearts so they can start living their best life now. Just remember, when one door closes, there's another one waiting for you to open and walk through to a bigger and brighter future.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I took one of your photographs, Mimi's garden. Tell
That
us.
came from my grandson, because I grow vegetables every year, and so he gave me that box. I love it. So that was the year, yeah, last year actually, this past year, I had so many carrots. I did not know what to do with them all, so I made a whole bunch of juice and carrot soup and
Wow, amazing. My beautiful Cindy, can you please tell us what is your forever song?
well, my forever song is Imagine by John Lennon. I think it's just so appropriate through the ages. So to this day, I love that song.
Wow. And we had an amazing dance. Every time we meet, we dance on your song. And can you tell us, please, what is your golden nugget?
I have many. I actually have many. I mean, one of mine is just start living your best life now. But I think the appropriate one is really just knowing that when one door closes, truly just have the trust, have the faith that there is going to be another door that's going to open up to you, and it is going to take you into a bigger and brighter future. If I didn't have that kind of trust, to just say, there is going to be a new chapter, there is a new door going to open up for you, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today. So just know that, walk through it, walk through that next door. There's going to be something bigger and brighter for you, and
Wow,
start living your
thank you.
best life now. Start
Yes,
living
I
now.
love it. I am going to play our sponsor's video, Natalie McQueen. She is actually going to help me publish our compilation, Soul of a Diamonds, with all of your beautiful stories in. And then after that, I would love to ask you if you've got a message for, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your name for Mrs. Potts and how that is going for you? And then what
Okay.
message you have?
Yeah. So
Let me quickly,
mine's on
let me
Fridays.
quickly,
So
let
mine's
me-
called,
sorry,
oh, sorry, you want to play it
sorry.
first?
I apply our video first and then we will come back to you. I'm so sorry, Cindy. Here we go.
All right.
Hi there. My name is Natalie McQueen. I'm the founder of Gifts of Legacy. I am a book publisher and a legacy designer. I am thrilled to introduce my talking journal. This unique journal features recorded messages from 100 trailblazing contributors that we call our masters and mavens. Imagine a journal that you can hold in your hands and get daily prompts of inspiration from these mentor experts. I invite you to be one of our masters and mavens in our first edition on gratitude for $49. This is a low-cost, high-impact alternative to traditional publishing. I cannot wait to hear your inspirational message.
Oh, I love
Thank you, my
Natalie.
beautiful Natalie. My beautiful Cindy, please share.
Okay, so I'm the Friday Mrs. Potts, and the name of our Fridays is called Tranquil Hearts, a Cup of Comfort. It's cozy conversations to uplift your day. And I have to tell you, so tomorrow will be the third Mrs. Potts on Fridays, and last week's was just so rich and beautiful. Oh my gosh, we had some incredible women come sharing their stories. I was blown away. I mean, I was crying. I mean, just some of the things that were shared, just so beautiful. So I can't say enough about it. So I just encourage whoever wants to come. It was just a beautiful experience of sharing and a way to, I think, wherever you are in your day, to take that with you. So yeah, come tomorrow.
Oh, wow. I will be definitely there. So, my beautiful Cindy, can you please tell the ladies, while you are serving mostly ladies, how can they get hold of you? Just want to say in the show notes, everything of you, or, all your links are there, but how can they get hold of you?
You know, email's great. You can go, my website's under construction. You can still come there. You can still come there. A new one's going to be coming out. I mean, it's still open, but it's being completely revamped at this point. You can go there. So that's www.tranquilheartwellness.com. You can email me. I think you're going to have the link to that as well. You can get me on social. You can come to Facebook, DM me. There's lots of different ways that you can contact me. You can even, if you want, call me. You can call me. Just make sure you leave a message, though. Leave a message and say, hi, I'm calling, whatever. Because if you don't leave a message, I'm going to think you're spamming me. Because there's a lot of people
Exactly.
that spam your phone. So you can do that too. But those would
Wow,
probably be the best
amazing.
ways.
Amazing. Thank you, my beautiful Cindy, for your incredible story, for your spirit, just the way that you are. And thank you for serving the world with love. So, I have written a song. I have somebody that is going to compose and sing it now for me, but it's not ready. But I have Dr. Michael Alexander, and it's his birthday tomorrow, that I've read my song for you. So here is From My Heart to Yours.
Moments of moving from here to there between the star and the moon's soft glare capture a glimpse of light so rare, radiant and shining, our hearts declare for the world to see in love's grand affair. Moments of our lives that are filled with laughter keep us going, hearts thrilled, capture the essence of who we are in the spirit of a child like a shooting star. Moments to share our true stories so bright, not only for the world to heal, take flight, but to remind us how amazing we are. Forever moving forward, a radiant star to create magic near and far. In the radiance of each heart's soft glow, we find the strength to carry on and grow. Shining bright, our love doth show in every moment, from dusk till dawn's soft flow. Radiant hearts.
So it's a long song, but this is From My Heart to Yours. And one of these days, I will be having a gentleman that is going to sing it for us. So I'm
That's
truly honored that this is happening.
Oh my gosh, that is just beautiful. Beautiful.
My beautiful Cindy, when I was imagining all this TV show, and the magazine and the book compilation and the documentary, because that's my big dream to your dream. I had the song already as well. So that weekend was a very special weekend, and now you are part of this. And I've got 5 more ladies to go, and then we can start with the book. So I'm truly blessed. So thank you for being my Mrs. Potts. You are amazing, and I love you with all my heart. Mwah! It's for you.
Yeah. Right back at you. Like I said, this is just like this whole experience for me, and being a part of this group is just so heartwarming and heart filling. It I feel it's home. It just feels like home. Like I've never had a community like this. And so I just want to say thank you. I have so much gratitude. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, my beautiful Cindy. My beautiful diamond beauties, have an amazing day. We have received 30 new ladies this month for January. Please go and welcome them. Go and say hi. And the new ladies, please tell us where you're from. Tell us, how did you find your first month in the diamond beauties? And then my viewers out there, if you would love to join us, we are on Facebook and our name is called Diamond Beauties Forever. I want to say, please look after yourself, smile often, and keep on dancing. Bye, everyone.